The name appears in records long before the world was paying attention. According to early financial filings, the rise was quiet, almost invisible. Reports suggest that the wealth appeared faster than explanations could follow. In certain documents, numbers grow year by year, but the sources remain vague. According to records, there are moments where paper trails thin out, where signatures exist without context, and where transactions appear complete yet unexplained. This is where the untold chapters begin, not with scandal, but with silence. In the early years, associates described a man who moved easily between worlds that rarely overlap. Financial circles, academic institutions, private estates, and elite social gatherings all appear in records connected to the same name. Documents indicate that introductions mattered more than resumes, and access mattered more than credentials. According to reports, doors opened not because of formal authority, but because of who was willing to vouch, who was willing to invite, and who was willing to remain quiet. Property records show residences in multiple locations, each with its own layer of privacy. According to filings, these were not just homes, but compounds designed for isolation. Gates, security staff, and carefully controlled visitor lists appear repeatedly. Reports suggest that movement in and out of these locations followed informal rules, not written policies. According to records, some visits were logged in detail, while others were barely noted at all. Financial disclosures raise further questions. Large sums moved through entities that existed mostly on paper. Shell companies, trusts, and private funds appear and disappear across years of filings. Documents indicate that these structures were legal in form, but opaque in function. Reports suggest that the complexity itself acted as a shield, discouraging deeper inquiry. According to records, regulators noted irregularities, yet decisive action often stalled or never came. The social network expanded steadily. According to flight logs and guest lists, the same names recur across different settings. Politicians, business leaders, scientists, and celebrities appear in overlapping circles. Reports suggest that proximity did not always imply involvement, yet the pattern itself raises questions. According to records, introductions were carefully curated, creating environments where influence could flow without formal acknowledgement. Silence becomes a recurring theme. Documents indicate that complaints were raised, sometimes quietly, sometimes formally. Reports suggest that these complaints were often redirected, delayed, or minimized. According to records, settlements occurred that required no admission of wrongdoing, only agreements to end matters quietly. The language of these documents is precise, controlled, and notably restrained. Law enforcement interactions form another untold chapter. According to official files, investigations began earlier than publicly acknowledged. Reports suggest that evidence was gathered, witnesses interviewed, and patterns identified. According to records, decisions about scope and jurisdiction narrowed cases rather than expanding them. The reasons given were procedural, yet the outcomes consistently reduced exposure. In certain agreements, language stands out. Documents indicate clauses that limited future action, not just for the individual involved, but for potential associates. Reports suggest that these provisions were unusual in their breadth. According to records, the implications were not fully understood until years later, when attempts to reopen cases met unexpected barriers. Media coverage followed a similar pattern. Early reports existed, but they remained fragmented. According to archived articles, stories appeared briefly and then faded. Reports suggest that legal pressure, editorial caution, and competing news cycles all played roles. According to records, some journalists pursued the story persistently, while others encountered resistance that was never formally explained. Behind closed doors, influence continued to operate. According to correspondence later made public, meetings were arranged at high levels. Reports suggest that reputations were leveraged to maintain credibility. According to records, endorsements from respected institutions created an aura of legitimacy that discouraged scrutiny. The Untold chapter here is not a single act, but a system functioning as designed. As years passed, patterns hardened. Documents indicate repeated behavior across time and location. Reports suggest that warnings were issued informally, sometimes within agencies, sometimes between individuals. According to records, these warnings rarely translated into coordinated action. Each entity appeared to assume that responsibility lay elsewhere. The role of wealth becomes increasingly central. According to financial analyses, resources enabled legal defenses that outpaced investigations. Reports suggest that settlements were framed as resolutions, even when questions remained unanswered. According to records, non-disclosure agreements ensured that details stayed buried, traded for compensation and closure. Flight logs introduce another layer. According to these records, travel occurred frequently, often involving private aircraft. Reports suggest that destinations were varied, yet patterns emerge over time. According to records, passenger lists were sometimes complete, sometimes partial. The gaps themselves raise questions, not because of what is shown, but because of what is missing. Private islands and secluded properties appear repeatedly. According to land registries, these locations offered jurisdictional complexity. Reports suggest that oversight was limited, fragmented between agencies. According to records, inspections were rare and often announced in advance. The physical isolation mirrored the legal isolation. Survivor accounts, where they appear in records, introduce human detail into an otherwise abstract narrative. Reports suggest that these accounts were consistent in certain elements, yet differed in specifics. According to records, credibility assessments often focused on inconsistencies rather than patterns. The Untold chapter here is the gap between lived experience and institutional response. Legal proceedings eventually brought renewed attention. According to court documents, motions were filed, evidence reviewed, and arguments made. Reports suggest that momentum built slowly, driven by persistence rather than urgency. According to records, new information emerged not from official channels, but from previously sealed files becoming accessible. Public reaction shifted as details accumulated. According to opinion surveys and media analysis, trust eroded in the systems meant to provide accountability. Reports suggest that questions expanded beyond one individual to include institutions that failed to act. According to records, internal reviews were announced, yet their findings were often limited in scope. The final chapter, as officially recorded, was abrupt. According to custodial records, events occurred that ended further testimony. Reports suggest discrepancies in timelines and procedures. According to records, reviews identified lapses but stopped short of definitive conclusions. The result was an ending that resolved little. What remains are the untold chapters, scattered across documents, testimonies, and unanswered questions. According to records, many files remain sealed or redacted. Reports suggest that further disclosures are possible, yet timelines remain uncertain. According to records, responsibility is diffused across agencies, jurisdictions, and individuals. The story does not conclude with certainty, but with fragments. Documents indicate that influence can operate without visibility, that silence can be maintained through structure, and that power often leaves the light last. Reports suggest that understanding these patterns matters beyond any single case. According to records, the true measure of accountability lies not in what is revealed, but in what remains hidden. As time moves forward, the untold chapters continue to shape perception. According to archival trends, interest resurges whenever new material surfaces. Reports suggest that each release answers some questions while raising others. According to records, the full narrative exists somewhere between what is known and what has yet to be acknowledged. This is not a story defined by one ending, but by an absence of closure. According to documents, the files are extensive, yet incomplete. Reports suggest that the silence surrounding them is intentional, maintained by design rather than accident. According to records, the untold chapters remain open, waiting not for speculation, but for truth that has yet to fully emerge.